Say hi.
I miss you, Lauren.
For what I'm looking for, you don't
Hey, girl, hey.
That was cute. Everybody say hi to Lauren. Look, it's Jack, Lauren. Say hi, Jack.
You can say that he can play with your Lego thing, right?
Yes, I
You
did.
can play with that. Okay. I would.
She's gonna love this.
Actually,
video.
just pretend that there's the thing coming in and it's like destroying it like an earthquake. Why don't you just like shoot on animals? And then it just starts like breaking and stuff.
Okay, no, because I still have to take it home.
Okay, no, I still have to get home. Should I point it at the TV? Is that what you said? Okay. Renee, your head's in the way.
Good.
What is that?
Okay, were there any questions on the homework you guys finished up yesterday on chapter 7?
Renee, your head's in the way.
Yes, I have a question on 7.
Please on the box. There you go.
Good idea. Thank you, Marnie.
Great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I was asking, like what to do inventory holders do. I just put for the majority.
Okay, yeah, 7 wasn't really related to anything we talked about. But just go over it.
Hopefully it doesn't fall.
Okay, so number 7 is, number 7, chapter 7 says, the demand for demand for and supply of rice is, and it lists the table. Then it says, storm destroys part of the crop and decreases supply by 500 boxes a week. So what do inventory holders do? Now, my guess is there's something in here specifically telling you within the chapter. So if you read, did you read the chapter?
Yeah.
Did it talk about?
It talks about like inventory holders and farm revenue, so I wasn't really sure how to like calculate it.
Okay. So basically, what are inventory holders gonna do? What do you think the answer is?
I put hold inventory. Keep track of inventory.
Sorry. Would they raise their prices? No.
Well, there'd be a decrease in inventory, right? Because of the decrease in.
Yeah, so what they're gonna do is they're gonna sell the 500 boxes of rice. So, a storm destroys part of the crop and decreases supply by 500 boxes a week. And so it's saying that inventory holders sell 500 boxes of rice, and then inventory holders sell rice from inventory because otherwise the storm will cause the price of rice above $1.40 per box. So they're trying to keep the price still at $1.40 and not have to raise the price, because with some goods, if you raise the price, that demand drops and they could end up with a surplus. So instead of ending up with a surplus that's just gonna sit there and go to waste, they're trying to keep that price right at $1.40 per box. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna try and sell those. So that way they won't end up with that surplus. And then B is saying, what is the price and what is farm revenue? So for that one, the price we have in the problem is $1.40 a box. And then the farm revenue would be okay, so on a graph, we have this green one here. And at equilibrium, by looking at the demand schedule, it's, the price is still $1.40 and the quantity demanded is 2,500, which is here. And then, so the equilibrium price is $1.40, that's gonna stay the same, so they're trying to keep, yeah, right? So they're trying to keep that price at $1.40, so, the farm revenue is gonna be $1.40 times 2,000, and it's 2,000 because we're now 500 boxes short, so we're moving from 2,500 to the 2,000 mark. And if you draw a dotted line up there, that equilibrium price of $1.40 is where we get that 2,000. So 2,800 per week, and that's because the storm reduces the quantity because of those 500 that were destroyed. Okay, was there anything else from homework? Okay. I know I said we would talk about papers. I'm still grading them. I'm about halfway through giving actual grades. So, today's a short class day, right? We get done. You know what time is pretty nice.
It's on the,
Okay, so
Sixth period, I know, I don't think it's up there, 11:28.
Okay. Okay, so we have about 18 minutes. I guess we can just do general what happens on, with these different topics, okay? I did write a bunch of notes on your papers, so it looks like a crazy person went through and like chewed up your paper. Yes, it looks like that, and the reason for that is just with some of the way like things relate in economics, you weren't quite there. So I posed some questions, and then also if you didn't define a key term that you were using, if I define question mark, because I can see that you can incorporate it into a paper, but do you really understand what it is? And then based on some of the papers, what they were saying, they didn't have the correct terminology, like the definitions of the word. So, if there's a lot of writing, don't necessarily freak out. Maybe freak out a little. Okay, so we'll just start with this one. So this one is minimum, voters decide on raising minimum wage. And we talked about minimum wage in class, and I think that was right around the time these papers were turned in, so we haven't really covered a lot of that quite yet as you're writing this paper. But basically, this is saying there's a proposal in some states to raise the minimum wage. Some of them to $10 an hour, some to $13.25 an hour, another one $15 an hour. So in class, what did we discover happens with minimum wage? Sydney?
The supply and demand become uneven, so like usually the supply is sometimes is less than the demand, I think, depending on what the price is.
Okay, so yeah, price over here, quantity here. And then price, do we have a price floor or price ceiling?
price floor.
Floor. Yeah, so if we're having a price floor, we're on our consensus.
It's not the ceiling.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the tricky part too. So, how to describe this? Okay,
Oh, it's a floor, cause they can't go.
they can't go
anything
under
below.
that, so with this particular example, we're below the equilibrium price, but it's a little tricky because some employers are paying higher than or at the equilibrium point. But for those who are paying less than, so let's say like in the food industry, they're below here, others are above here. Is this making
So
sense?
even though it's below the equilibrium point, it's still considered a floor because we can't go below it.
So in the homework example that we just did in chapter 7, this is how one of those graphs look, right? Okay, so chapter 7, number 4, and then also number 3, those are both examples with wages. So, using this here, this is the, it's a floor. Because now you can't, pay less than this amount, okay? We could also have a price floor up here, but, for this example, we're down below the equilibrium. And what this is saying is, at this point where we're meeting quantity supplied, here's the quantity demanded. And you can think of this in terms of the firm. So, at a higher rate, let's say the original, let's use up here. And let's say that employers were paying employees P-star, and this is what our Q-star was. If we're here, and companies now have to pay on this line, they're having to pay more. So in your papers, you had said that the quantity supplied would decrease. So as we look at quantity supplied, we're actually moving from here to here, but it's kind of tricky because the reason the price is increasing of the good is so that employers can cover the cost of having to pay their employees more. So there's a lot of factors going into it, and each firm is kind of a little different on their own. Is this making any sense? Confusion? No? Okay, so basically, by raising the minimum wage, you would think instead of making $8 an hour, now I'm gonna be making $10 an hour, that's great. I can go buy a bunch more stuff. But in reality, what it's doing is firms are gonna raise their prices to cover that extra expense. So then we have inflation, so the price of things all around the board increase. So you're actually not better off, you might be for like a small window of time until that happens. So with the proposed wage increases, it's over a period of a couple years. So instead of going directly from like $7 an hour to $9 an hour, it's increasing at like 50 or 70% intervals, or some change, instead of doing it all in one jump. Okay. So that was the unemployment. Oh, right, so the quantity being supplied at that top price floor, there's more people wanting to find work. So when the price increases, some people who, maybe teenagers who weren't in the workforce, are now thinking, oh, well, if I can make that much an hour, I'm going to try to find a job. And then also some firms may lay employees off just to help minimize their costs and try to make do with fewer employees. Okay. So that's the voters decide on minimum wage. Then we had get your engines ready, Americans are spending again. So this article is talking about in, was it August? Overall consumer spending rose 0.5% in August, which was one of the strongest gains in 2014. It's a positive sign, especially after spending flattened in July. So with this one, there were a lot of terminology, like econ terminology used incorrectly. So I kind of explained on there, or asked for a definition. So when you think of the definition, having it included would have helped. And with this one, it's kind of hard because it's just saying like in August it increased, and it's suggesting that like durable goods are the reason people are buying more, like cars, and the auto industry did especially well in August. So that's looking just at that one market. And so because of that increase, we're seeing that as a positive, that consumers are now spending more. So either they're feeling better financially or what have you. So there's a lot of factors that could cause that increase in spending. This suggests that they're feeling more confident in their financial situation. So, purchase of durable goods such as furniture and cell phones increased almost 2% in August over the prior month. And that's a healthy uptick after mere gains of 0.1% in July. So that was just comparing July and August. There's really not enough information in this article to really make any profound, like, educated guesses on what's causing it. I mean, they list a few, but we know in economic models we're kind of narrowing it down, but there's a lot of outside factors that can also affect those changes. Okay, what other papers? This one, inventions. So two of these were on inventions. One was a new ice cream scoop, the other is a health monitoring device. So, this one, I really like this intro, so I'll go ahead and read it. Many have watched, eyes glazed over in amazement and intrigue, as Iron Man's armor appears to magically self-heal and self-repair. But any Iron Man fan would know that it's not magic. Tony Stark invented it himself using science and a couple of million of dollars, but that's not important. If you could have self-healing powers, what if you could have self-healing powers? The Defense Department's Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, has recently announced that such a device is in the works. So it's an electronic implant injected through a needle that would have the power to monitor the health of internal organs and aid the body in healing itself when illness or injury occurred. If this so basically, what the papers focused on in this group is if this device became available and you no longer needed to go to all of these doctor appointments, if you have this device and you're pretty much self-healing on your own, you're not requiring medication, what is that going to do to the medical field? So in this particular paper, they focused on that if it becomes available, it could be effective against diseases ranging from rheumatoid arthritis to PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and depression. So because of that, it would decrease the demand for traditional medicines, so like prescriptions and to get at the pharmacy, as well as decrease the need for traditional medical professions, so doctors. And with this one, it's a little tricky because it depends on how they distribute this. That, like, you may still be a doctor, you might just have to have technical training in this device implantation, right? So, but nonetheless, like, if this device becomes available, it's gonna alter the supply and demand of traditional medicine and practices or professionals. So with this, I don't know that I would consider rheumatoid arthritis and PTSD a disease. Maybe they've changed the description of disease, but I think we get the idea of it's going to help out with a lot of medical issues. So with this, I wrote a note, let me see. The decrease in demand for traditional medicine may at first seem to have a surplus. Okay, so one of the arguments was that there's going to be a surplus of like all of these prescriptions that we've made and the medical profession in general. But with a new technology, not necessarily everyone's going to jump into that new market. There's going to be some people who are kind of we call laggers, or they're kind of going to see like, let's wait and see how this thing works and see if there are any negative effects of it, right, before I go and implant this thing into my arm. So those people who are shifting over to this implant market will leave like extra, but what do suppliers do when they have excess on demand? They lower the prices. So for some people, healthcare may become even more affordable and they'll stick with traditional medicine versus switching over to this new medicine. So basically, short run, it's helping, if you're staying in the traditional field, it's helping more people afford certain things. But then if they would switch over, it sounds like once they do switch over, it'll cost less in the long run. Did that make sense? How like you might be spending more on traditional medicines, but if this implant self-heals and you don't need to go to a doctor, you don't need to take any medicines, you're paying that initial cost, and then it sounds like you're pretty much set for life. So you're not having to continually refill a prescription, go to the doctor's office, etc. Okay? And then we don't know if it would fix every disease and illness or just some. So if it's fixing everything, then yes, there's gonna be a decrease in demand for the prescriptions and medical professionals. But if it's not, then those doctors who now don't have a job may specialize in whatever illnesses it's not treating. So they may just have to shift their profession or their specialty to adapt to what the market's demanding. Okay? Alright, and then for the ice cream scoop, basically, the main idea is it puts less strain on your wrist, and instead it's using your arm and chest muscles to scoop that ice cream. So when you first pull out that tub of ice cream from the fridge, it's like rock hard. And if you try to get that right away, you're either gonna bend your spoon if you're not, if you don't have a scoop, or you're gonna put strain on your wrist. So with this new ice cream scoop, it, what time did we decide this class on today?
28.
I have it on YouTube video and I thought it was pretty cool. Let's just watch that and then we can figure out one. So with the ice cream scoop, it's costing more money. It's $50 to buy, but it's supposed to be durable and last pretty much forever. So some of the examples in this YouTube video are that it, if you drop it from a 50-story building or something and it breaks, we'll replace it. Or if you run over it with your car and it breaks, we'll replace it. So it comes with a lifetime warranty. Let's see.
Might be quicker to just go through the TV.
Well, it should. I don't know why it's taking. Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, there's a, okay, I'll post it online. You can watch it and then we'll go over this first thing tomorrow and then we're gonna get into chapter 8 tomorrow as well. And tomorrow.
Is there any, like,